Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I hope that everyone will fine. My name is Nurin Aina binti Basirun and I am from KBA 1183E. Regarding on this assignment was given by my lecturer Madam Nurin Aina. Here I want to deliver my speech which the title was chosen by me. Is sign language important? So let me start. According to the World Federation of the Deaf, there are 70 million people in the world who use sign language to communicate. It is the only medium which deaf people communicate their feelings and emotions. Each language has an interesting history, as does sign language. Sign language, a visual language that uses hand, facial, and body movement as a means of communication. It is commonly used as the main form of communication for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. The majority of deaf people are born to hearing parents and therefore do not acquire sign language as a mother tongue. They acquire sign language at school from peers. Sign language is the first language of the majority of deaf children. A minority of deaf children are born to deaf parents and these children acquire sign language as their mother tongues. Sign language is an important part and characteristic of identifying membership in deaf culture. Sign language has its own grammatical structure that is independent of any spoken or written language. A sign can be translated into English, Malay, or any language by more than one word, perhaps a phrase or sentence. It is estimated that there are 300 different sign languages all around the world, including Malaysian Sign Language. However, different countries have their own sign language version. Just like spoken language, sign language change depending on the country where we are in. Although British and United States both speak English, their sign language are very different. An American deaf teacher who eventually became the president of the American National Association of the Deaf said, "As long as we have deaf people, we will have sign language." Why this topic is important to know? People with disabilities who are dumb or deaf are unable to share story or ask for help. The effect this will make them sad and depressed. They need us as normal people to learn sign language so they will be able to communicate and share anything. Second, they feel down and unfair with their life because of their disabilities. We as normal people should understand and know that they also have a feeling and emotion like us and boost their confidence toward disabilities. Third, deaf people that able to read use sleep reading to catch up with what people say. They try hard to catch up with what people say by reading the movement of someone's lips. Sometimes they maybe can catch the word people say because of the word that is new for them. Based on the figure shown on the screen, we can see that sign language has been used by people around the world.
So without having speech, without having dialogue, how do we know that it's not the other way around? We know it's not the other way around because we have hints, we have clues that are shown through the gestures and facial expressions. When people don't use gestures or facial expressions when they talk, it makes it even more difficult for the deaf and the hard of hearing to understand what's going on. A lot of hearing people often get caught up with the idea that the only way to communicate with somebody efficiently is by using their voice. It's not.
I have experienced and learned Malaysian Sign Language on my own with support from books, YouTube, and Telegram channels since 1 year ago. Start with a free sharing about learning sign language based on Google Meet and I became more interested to learn more of it. The reason why I want to learn sign language is because that I am curious about how to figure more sign language and make a communication with disabilities who are dumb or deaf. Now I have dominated some simple and basic sign language that I can remember. Besides that, I also did research on this topic and read some article about sign language and why it is important to us. Ladies and gentlemen, here is my first point, which is sign language is not difficult. Sign language seems like a complex method of communication, but there is a reason why it is used by so many people around the world. If you are trying to learn sign language for conversational purpose, it is not that difficult. Like any language, it just takes time but become more intuitive when you engage with other one basis. As time goes on and you understand various expressions in sign language, your fluency improves. Just try the first step and you will know. Furthermore, learning it is quite easy if you have the right teacher and are being taught in the right way. With that being said, learning any language after a certain age is far more challenging more than doing it when you are young. Also, with sign language, you usually can interact with the language outside of the classroom. In many cases, Your interaction may be limited to a single deaf family member. If that person is a child, your goals and needs will be vastly different than if you were communicating with an adult. That can limit how fast or slowly you acquire fluency in the language. I have already explained the first main point. Next, I will explain the second point, which is learn about deaf culture. When we learn a new language, we get to know a lot about the country, the culture, and the people of the country. It is the same thing when learning sign language, as there is such a thing as a deaf culture and a deaf community with its own history too. Deaf culture is the heart of deaf society anywhere in the world. Language and culture are inseparable. They are interconnected and passed down with generations of deaf people. The deaf community consists of culturally deaf people at the core of the community who use sign language and value their heritage, history, literature, and culture. The deaf community is additionally made from other individuals who use the language and have attitudes that make them a part of an accepted society even though they will not be at the core of society. It exists because of the need to get together. They need to relax and enjoy everything well together. Deaf culture exists because deaf people communicate in residential deaf schools develop their own deaf network on their graduate to stay in touch with everyone. Most of them continue to take leadership position in the deaf community, organizing deaf sport, community events, and others, and become the core of the deaf community. They ensure their language and heritage are passed to the next generation. They also form relationship with parents and siblings to deaf children to strengthen and enlarge community circle for deaf children. Language and culture are interrelated. Sign language is important to any deaf person, child or adult for their intellectual, society, linguistic, and emotional growth. But to truly appreciate their language, they must have a culture embedded in the language. Each linguistic and cultural group has its own way of seeing and expressing the way they see and interpret the world and interact in it. I have already covered the second point we learned about deaf culture. Next, I will explain the third point. Benefit over spoken language. Sign language can be used when spoken words are physically impossible, such as speaking in the water, speaking through glass, from a distance, or speaking with a full mouth. Sign language can also allow you to talk to someone without disturbing others with noise. For example, you can tell your friend how much you hate the movie while at the cinema without disturbing anyone. However, sign language also can be used when having a private conversation in a public place. This will only work if the conversation cannot be seen by someone who knows sign language. Sign language can be a great way to gossip without others knowing. We know more than a few kids who learn a bit of sign language with their peers so they can talk in class without their teacher knowing. So I have already covered the third point, which is advantages of a spoken language. Next, I will explain the fourth point. The next point is be able to help when need. Due to various barriers in modern society nowadays, deaf people face daily challenge in hearing words in which we are alive. So if you are in restaurant or store and you see possible communication barriers between two people, you can help them and solve them. If you volunteer at an organization and you see someone who is alone because they are the only deaf person, you can make them feel comfortable. Even in your own job, you can overcome any communication barrier with your deaf client by speaking in sign language. Just remember that disabilities who are dumb or deaf also want to live as normal people.
I can say good morning, have a good day, and good afternoon, and have a good day again.
Just Verity on said, sign language is the noblest gift God has given to deaf people. Why most feel shame with dumb or deaf language? Did you know that sign language is so beautiful and unique? Last but not least, sign language is also an important language that we must learn from now because we also live with the same place and country with deaf people. I really hope that everyone will try to learn sign language and make it as our second or third language. Enjoy it and it is fun. You also will help these people. At the same time, you create your bonding with other people with disabilities. Furthermore, you have unlocked a new language to your list.